Domestic violence is a serious issue that can wreak havoc on the lives of Cherokee families. Kelsey Samuels is a Cherokee Nation citizen serving domestic violence and abuse victims, which is often difficult but can be a source of comfort and healing in dark times.
People often think that domestic violence is just physical abuse, and a lot of times people will say, I'm not a victim of domestic violence because I've never been hit. Domestic violence is all about power and control, and it doesn't have to include physical violence. It's creating an unsafe environment for you in any way. My name is Kelsey Samuels. I am a proud Cherokee citizen, and I am the executive director of the Community Crisis Center, which is a nonprofit in Northeastern Oklahoma that serves victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking. I have lived in Northeastern Oklahoma a majority of my life. I moved out of state after college and worked for a few years and then came back home to the job that I have now. So to get to come to work every day in reservation and to serve citizens of Cherokee Nation and partner with Cherokee Nation is huge to me. It feels like coming home. Oklahoma is now number 2 in the nation for women murdered by men. That's the highest that we've ever been in the state, and it shows that domestic violence and violence against women in our state is at crisis. We're number 2 in the entire nation, and then violence against Native women is disproportionate. And a recent study showed that 4 out of 5 Native American women have experienced some form of violence in their lifetime. So if you think about 5 Cherokee women that you know, the reality is that 4 of those women have faced some form of domestic violence, intimate partner violence, sexual assault, and that number is astonishing. VAWA stands for the Violence Against Women Act. It was first authorized in 1994, and it was authored by then Senator Joe Biden, and it was the first comprehensive legislation packet that really looked at violence against women. It brought attention to domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and dating violence, and looked at how can we prevent violence, how can we respond to violence, and how can we fund services, all that address the gaps involving gender-based violence. VAWA was recently reauthorized in 2022, and in that reauthorization, it actually reinforced tribal sovereignty and reinstated the jurisdiction that tribes had to hold offenders that were non-Native accountable in tribal jurisdictions. So women are such an important and pivotal part in both the tribe and in the family system, and increasing the tribe's ability to keep women safe within Cherokee jurisdiction is so important. And not only does it keep our community safer, but it shows honor to the women in our lives. We now know that the effects of trauma are far-reaching and they're generational. With violence against women, not only is it the violence that's perpetrated against the victim, but oftentimes there's children growing up in the home that witness it. So then we have these generational cycles of people that have experienced or witnessed abuse and trauma, the effects of trauma. We can provide counseling and other services to really help address, okay, I've experienced this traumatic event. How do I process it? How do I begin the road of healing? How can I be a parent in the midst of trauma and learning skills so that they can hopefully parent from a trauma-informed perspective of my children have witnessed trauma, I've experienced trauma, and we're looking at the best way for us to move forward as a family. We have a team of over 20 staff, ranging from advocates to administration to prevention specialists, that covers our 3-county service area. And on average, we work with over 500 victims a year within our agency. I have family and friends that are survivors, and it's just something that's really near and dear to my heart. But it's just really important as a community that we continue talking about it. I think that the Me Too movement and some of these other movements that have come out the last few years have really normalized, hey, these are problems, and they're not these situations that have to be hidden anymore. It's okay to talk about. We're saying, hey, we want to live in a safe community. My family is so important to me. Family structure is so important to me, and my kids are a huge part of what I do. I want them to grow up in a community that's safe. I want them to be in relationships that are safe and healthy. So I feel like the work that I do now is hopefully creating a better tomorrow, and that when they reach that age and they're in relationships and they get married, that they'll remember some of what I talked about when they were this age, and that hopefully the community looks different. There's more services available, there's been more training available, and that hopefully I can help prevent violence in my family just by the work that I'm doing. I think it is so meaningful for me to get to come back home and do this work in Cherokee Reservation every day, Cherokee Nation has been a huge part of my life. My family's from this area, but I genuinely love what I do, and it's an honor. And knowing that every day that I come up and I go to work that is hopefully making a difference for someone in the community makes it worthwhile for me. There are so many people in our communities that have been abused and hurt, and children growing up in homes that are unsafe. And I just honestly feel like it is a privilege that I get to wake up every day and use my talents and my skills to play a part in that and use my voice to speak up for victims and survivors in the community. So my hope is that the work that I do today creates a safer future. And I think that's the mentality that we all should have, that women are sacred and families are sacred.